Is the WWE title the most prestigious prize in the game? Yes. Yes, it is. It mostly comes down to longevity, but also this is the championship we all grew up on. Those nostalgic pangs count for a lot. So let us take a walk down memory lane and think about the good and the bad, and a bunch of facts you probably forgot. Number 10, the original belt was stolen. Bruno Sammartino was only the second WWF champion in history, and yep, this went bad. In 1965, the belt was stolen from Bruno's car. Whoops. Sammartino was having a meal in the restaurant, and the best or worst part is the police never recovered it, so it's still out there somewhere. This wasn't great, even more so as Bruno was knee-deep into his 2,803-day reign, leaving the then WWF to commission another prize. I mean, their champion needed the trinket. Vince McMahon Sr. was reportedly livid about this, as you would be. The company had split from the NWA to try and become the market leader. This was just an easy shot. Not sure it did ever happen again. They must have learned. Number 9, it's been renamed 14 times. And yet we all still call it the WWE title. Something for the higher-ups to remember. We don't really care about branding. When it was around from 1963 to 1971, it was the WWF World Heavyweight Championship, when the wide was dropped to become the WWF, meaning we did have a name shift. Today it is the undisputed title, even though there's another world belt, so it is disputed. And on 4 occasions, the company's just gone flub it and reverted to calling it the WWE Championship. Triple H will do this again eventually, I'm sure, and I would imagine that's because the lay of the land elsewhere. It means we'll have the World Heavyweight title on Raw, and I guess the WWE title on SmackDown. This sums up my biggest bugbear in wrestling. Just have one major belt. Would make things so much easier. I mean, it was called the Universal title at one stage. What does that even mean? Are we defending the thing on Mars? Not the last time I checked. We do need to rein this in really, but at the same time, it doesn't actually matter. It's basically wrestling summed up in a nutshell. Number 8, 1999 had the most changes ever, which does make sense. The WWF went nuts in the Attitude Era. It was all about popping those TV ratings. It was also because management saw WCW falling apart, so wanted to end it for good. And as fans love title changes, let's give them title changes. As we know, it worked. Throughout 1999, the major belt changed hands 11 times, which is amazing as it's only 12 months in a year, so this was moving around every few weeks. For some context, the same prize changed hands 11 times from 2019 to 2024. But then again, just before the millennium, Vince McMahon was winning this thing, so all rules were out of the window. WWE also had The Rock, Steve Austin, Mick Foley, Triple H, and The Undertaker vying for that top spot, so likely felt pretty confident they could get away with it, and they did. The 2000 that came right after this was going to be one of their most successful periods ever. So this didn't tank 9. Number 7, 5 wrestlers belong to an elite club. This is so hard to do, it's difficult to know if it'll ever happen again. Superstars who have held the WWE title in 3 different decades. Triple H has done it, as has Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Randy Orton, and Batista, which goes to show the longevity they've had. For Hogan, it was in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, whereas The Rock and Hunter did it in the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. Orton then shifts the decades up by 1, as does Brock. And I know what you're thinking, John Cena. Yep, in 2025, he has a great shot to join it. Roman Reigns is another guy if he decides to keep wrestling into the 2030s, but listen to this madness. We are asking a lot of these guys. Nothing else, I now feel really, really old. Somebody come put me out of my misery. Number 6, Bob Backlund has the longest gap between reigns. I don't know if this is good or bad. It did confuse the flub out of people in 1994 when Bob returned to the WWF because, yeah, he beat Bret Hart for the WWE title. Fans were genuinely stunned. Nobody thought Vince McMahon would be interested, but he pulled the trigger at the Survivor Series, which signified Bob's record. It was an amazing 3,985 days between these title runs, as Backlund had last won it in December 1983. Now we're talking about November 1994, 11 flipping years. I suppose CM Punk can actually do this if he continues on his current path, and let's be honest here, it did not work with Bobby. He actually did make it click eventually, but at first he was doing the same thing as he had been doing a decade earlier, so let's just call it how it was. It is not what anybody wanted. Number 5, The Rock almost did it too. If we go to the number 2 position with this record, it is our final boss. He went 3,808 days when he defeated CM Punk for this title at the 2013 Royal Rumble. Before that, we're talking 2002. What a gap. This still remains controversial as it was Rocky that stopped Punk's huge championship reign, which many thought should have seen the voice of the voiceless go all the way to the WrestleMania main event. And no, that didn't happen. Vince McMahon felt like The Rock vs. John Cena Part 2 would be bigger, even though Round 1 was billed as once in a lifetime. That's wrestling for you. It's stupid. If you have done your maths, you are also correct. If WWE had waited just 177 days more, The Rock would have surpassed Bob. Screw that. And really, I don't think anybody even realized. Number 4, only 3 masked wrestlers have won it. Sadly, this isn't a huge surprise because Vince McMahon was in charge for the majority of WWE's existence. He didn't really get the importance of the mask. I mean, he did get it more than WCW. He didn't even sell Rey Mysterio's as merchandise. Go figure. Of course, it was Rey who was given the World Heavyweight title in 2005, but he also won the WWE Championship in 2011. That was after CM Punk had left with the gold, and WWE was nice enough to let Mysterio win it for 2 hours before John Cena beat him. Let's just say it again, this was stupid. The first masked human to do it, though, was in fact Kane, which is the most WWE thing ever. He won it at the 1998 King of the Ring, and there must be a curse here. 24 hours later, he lost it to Steve Austin on Raw. You do not want to be a masked wrestler winning this thing for the first time. It is the same for entrant number 2 because, yep, it's Mankind. He was able to defeat The Rock in that awesome Raw main event in January 1999. What happened 3 weeks later? He dropped it back to Rocky at the Raw Rumble. So it is a grand total of 3 weeks and 1 day for these guys combined. I think that's very good. Number 3, Steve Austin never defended at a Mania, which seems mad, but this was just the Stone Cold format. Anytime he headed into the show of shows, the story was always about how he was going to win the WWE title back. You can't get mad at that. It worked really, really well. 1998, 1999, and 2001 saw Austin climb this mountain. And the only reason he didn't do it in 2000 was because he was injured. I bet you it would have happened otherwise. I'm sure there's an argument to suggest eventually Steve would have found himself in this position, but you know the deal. His fire burned really bright, but not for very long. Due to his ailments, his time on top was basically 5 years. And that is the craziest statistic anybody is going to drop in this video. Number 2, The Undertaker is younger than the belt, and at the time, this was a first. It also shows you how serious WWE took the world title from 1963 to 1991, because at this stage, the belt had changed hands just 14 times. It really meant something to win it. The Dead Man was number 14 after he beat Hulk Hogan at the Survivor Series. He was only 26 years old, meaning he was younger than the Gold. That was born into existence in 1963, whereas the Phenom's date of birth was 1965. Yokozuna would steal this record as he was even younger than The Undertaker when he won it, but he also wasn't first, so nobody cares. That's not true, we do, but I like to whip up a storm. Maybe that's the real reason Taker was so desperate to feud with Yoko in 1994. Records. Makes sense to me. Number 1, Jinder Mahal's reign bested all of Edge's. In terms of longevity, because WWE really is a crazy place. Now everybody was surprised when Jinder Mahal became WWE champion in 2017, mostly as it came from nowhere. We decided we didn't need to build anything, let's just pull the trigger and go. Clearly the powers that be were fine with this too, as Jinder held on to that thing for 170 days. That's decent regardless, but also means Mahal's one stretch was longer than all of Edge's put together. I mean, that's all kinds of incredible, because during those 4 occasions, Edge only had it for 135 days total, so Jinder has got him beat by a solid 35 days. It is only fair to point out that the Rated R Superstar was far more associated with the World Heavyweight Championship more than this one, but it is still a fact. And a fact is a fact, and that is a fact. Given their current career trajectories too, I don't think this one is ever going to change. Know of any of the more crazy stats about the WWE title? Please do leave me a comment below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then please do click the video on the screen to learn even more about WWE history. But otherwise, thank you for your time today, my friends, and I will speak to you again very soon.